Anxiety is another very common issue I see with athletes, and that is prevalent in the middle school and high school age range. And anxiety can be trigger specific, like social anxiety, a fear of engaging and interacting with other people. It could be test anxiety, getting debilitatingly anxious before a test and forgetting everything you've learned. It can be performance anxiety. This is intense fear and stress when you're about to perform or compete. Or it could be generalized anxiety, where your symptoms of anxiety are present with you as you navigate your day, regardless of the situation you find yourself in. What I'm going to talk about today, though, is panic attacks. And these are very often associated with anxiety. And it can be a scary, intimidating experience to witness as a coach when you see an athlete having a panic attack. So we're going to go through what exactly a panic attack is and some ways that you can be helpful and know what to do during those situations. The DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, defines a panic attack as a period of intense fear or discomfort where at least 4 of the following symptoms occur, and it usually peaks within about 10 minutes. So these different symptoms include palpitations, pounding heart, accelerated heart rate. Your students might describe feeling like their heart was beating really hard or it was pounding in their chest. Other symptoms include sweating, trembling or shaking, sense of shortness of breath, or feeling like they're being smothered or choking. Your students might describe feeling like they were suffocating. Chest pain or chest discomfort, abdominal distress or nausea, derealization. So this is the feeling that maybe what's happening isn't real, or that they feel detached from themselves. There's a fear of losing control or going crazy, fear of dying, a numbing or tingling sensation, and chills or hot flashes. So this is a wide range of symptom presentation, and it only requires 4 to be a panic attack. So you can see that one student's panic attack might look very differently from another, and that could be confusing for a coach or an administrator who sees this happening, and it could unintentionally lead us to invalidate that student's experience. So it's important that you know that one panic attack might not look like another panic attack. And because these panic attacks might be hard to distinguish, you might hear your students say things like, "I'm out of control, I don't feel good, I'm dying, I think I'm going crazy." They might use that language to try to describe their experience, or they might not know how to describe their experience. So you can ask them, what is it that they're feeling in their body? And that might help you better understand what they're going through in that moment. And coaches always want to know, so what do I do? What do I do in the situation where I have a student that's overwhelmed and maybe panicking? And what you're going to want to do is say, it's not that big of a deal, just get over it, but do not say that. I know as we are looking for things to do and ways to be helpful and we feel overwhelmed, we might not know what to say. So in those moments, what you can do is talk in a calm, soothing voice. You, an assistant, a trainer, an administrator, can remove that student from the scenario into a hallway or a private room where they can remove themselves from the trigger and try to settle down their system. You can model breathing to them by breathing slowly in and slowly out. So this would look like this. We breathe in and breathe out. And the student might not be able to match your breath in that moment, but the more you do it, the more their breath will slow down and suddenly they'll be mirroring you. You could say things like, "It looks like you might be having a panic attack, and that's okay. We'll stay here as long as we need to until your body starts calming down." Another suggestion I often make is to have, if it's a sports activity, to have the athletic trainer get a bucket of ice water, or have an ice pack somewhere in the building available, or one of those ice packs that you could break and engage. But what you want to do is get something cold as possible. You could soak a towel or a rag into the ice water and then pull it out and engage the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve runs from our brain to the top of our belly, and it does a lot to regulate our parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the system that calms the body down. To calm the vagus nerve down, With the student's permission, you want to get the cold ice pack or rag and put it on the face of the student, around the chest and neck, and you can even do around the back of the neck. And these are helpful just to have around in case. This calms the vagus nerve and lets the parasympathetic system do its job to regulate the heart rate and the respiration rate. And once the athlete's system has calmed down enough to feel more regulated and under control, you can ask that student if they're willing and ready to go back to the activity, or they might need some time for their body to recover from the anxiety and stress it was just under. So they might want to observe the rest of the activity that day from the side. Or it might be necessary for them to leave or to call a parent, have the parent come pick them up and leave and go home. If you have a school nurse that's still around and in the building, you can get this student to the nurse for them to do their examination. There's under no circumstances do we want you to or feel encouraged to do a medical evaluation here. If there's any concern that there might be a medical issue happening, this student needs to see a doctor or go to the emergency department. It's very likely that your students are minors, and so in these cases, it's important to let them know that we will be contacting your parents, and it could be really empowering and relieving if the student is involved in that conversation. So the student's right there with you as you're telling the parent what happened during that activity or during that practice that day. And again, I want to reiterate, if there's any concern that there might be a medical issue, you need to get that student to an emergency medical provider.